Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hammer Podcast. Before I begin, make sure to hit that subscribe button to help this channel out. It is most appreciated. Today is 4/29/2020, and I'm talking to an ex-member of the band Thre3. Now, if you lived in Corpus Christi, Texas, or the surrounding areas, you might have heard of the band Thre3. Paul Pawlak, the self-proclaimed leader of the band, in 2010 was convicted of numerous counts of sexual assault of children and is now serving his sentence in the Ellis unit near Huntsville. I was one of the original members of the band, and when I left in 1994, a musician, we'll call him M, talks to me about what happened after I left and the course of events that led to Paul's incarceration. Now, on a side note, some names have been edited out for legal purposes, but the others are on public record. So, links to the court documents and other articles will be in the description below for you to read. Now, enjoy the interview, and thank you for listening. It said in the article, and it said that you were a guitar player.
I did both.
Or bass
actually.
player. I mean, not bass player, not guitar player.
Yeah, I did both. Here's what happened. Actually, was quit. You know.
Right. I remember.
Did you and him play together?
Yes, we were actually the first two.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah. Well, he quit with like 2 weeks to the day that they had already booked and paid for studio time. I don't know why. I don't remember any of that. And
I remember
my buddy was.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
My buddy who was living with Paul, was he living with him at that time? I don't even know. I don't think so.
Oh.
Anyways, we had stopped by there to do something. I was in like a punk metal band at that time.
Uh-huh.
But I had already been playing, you know. I was only 17, but I had been playing for like 10 or 12 years already.
Oh, okay.
And my buddy was like, "Hey, I'll play for you." I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, man, can you do it? I need all these songs in 2 weeks. I'll give you $250."
Oh.
I was like, "Fuck it, I'll do it. I'll do it for $250." And the main reason I wanted to do it was not the money, but man, a couple weeks before that, I had almost died. 17 years old, right? And I almost drowned. Me and three of my friends out in the surf were there, and I was like, "Man, I'm too young. I haven't done anything, you know. And
Uh-huh.
at least I can do this, you know, whatever." And that was kind of a motivator for me to start doing shit besides playing at the record and stuff like that. And that's what started it. And as soon as, you know, I learned everything real fast. It wasn't hard shit. It was pretty basic with just a few little quirky things in there that I had done. And, you know, Paul wanted it. I want exactly how he played it. And nobody thought I could do it. Like I guess they thought I was just a punk kid or something, but
Yeah.
man, it was no problem. And I learned everything and recorded it, and that was with Cirque.
Yes,
course,
I remember. He
Yeah.
was after I left.
Yeah,
He came on the scene.
yeah. And, you know, he didn't think I'd do it. And man, I went in and I laid everything down, and after they were done, they're like, "Hey, do you want to just stay in the band?" I was like, "Man, I don't know, because I've got a band, you know.
Right.
I've got a band playing my music that I wrote." And somehow I got roped in, you know. "Well, how about temporary, just till we find somebody? Can you fill in for practice?" Yeah. Man, I ended up in there for 3 fucking years, you know. So it was interesting times, especially, you know, just being 17.
Right.
And I guess Paul had talked to me later or something. Had a problem with me, I
Really?
guess, as the replacement. Yeah, I've never even. I've met him like 3 or 4 times, man. Right.
There was something going on because we all had a notion that he was
At
gay.
least gay. Yeah.
I mean, just by the way he
The
conducted
whole city
himself.
thought that.
You know,
Right.
me and him we'd run down Alameda Street, and man, he ran like he had wings on his shoes. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, he was very flamboyant. I can't see how
Yeah.
anybody else didn't see that.
Right.
But
No, we all saw it. Everybody saw it, man.
see, I left on bad terms though.
Yeah.
because I wanted out because it wasn't going in the direction that I wanted to go in. I wanted to do more secular stuff,
Right.
and he wanted to do more Christian themed stuff, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not a Christian, you
Yeah.
know. And the only reason why I was at that
That was
church is because my aunt went to that church,
right.
and I went because she asked me to, and when I saw that they had drums and bass and guitars, like wow, because I was just starting, as far as
Right.
Thre3 was my first band,
Yeah.
so it didn't matter to me if it was a Christian band or a secular band. I wanted to play, you
Right.
know.
Right.
So
Yeah.
and
That's the point I was at too. I
yeah,
mean, I I was born into the Jehovah's Witnesses.
yeah,
Okay, so if you know much about them, well, forget the scandals, but just the lifestyle in the first place.
hmm
I was already on my way out. They were pushing me out for years because they incorrectly assumed that I was the bad egg. I was actually just sitting here for the last 2 hours looking at old stories, thinking like I should write some of this shit and confess for these motherfuckers who were putting everything over on me,
yeah,
and just send a letter and let everyone know, here's what I know about your daughter and so and so. So I was trying to get out of that. And here I am trying to leave religion. And then I got into that, and it was all, well, are you a Christian? I was like, well, I'm not a Christian, but I'm not trying to be religious or anything like that.
right.
And yeah, it was the same kind of thing. I wanted to play. Like I said, I'd almost died, and I felt like I needed to do something besides these punk shows and
Well, the thing
just
is, when we played the Cole Park at the amphitheater there, I met my wife there,
mhm,
so it was a good thing.
right,
We've been married for over 20 years, so, and I probably would have never met her. But the thing is, um, one of the problems was I was writing the music, okay,
uh-huh,
and Paul was writing these dumbass lyrics.
yeah,
I mean, just
right,
awful lyrics. He couldn't sing for shit,
right,
okay, but we tolerated it. There's a lot of people that loved the music, but they didn't like the singing.
yeah,
But I was at his house one day, and I see these papers on the coffee table, and while he's in his bedroom changing or doing whatever he's doing, which by the way, he never did anything with me. I'll say that right now.
right,
I was
right,
21 at the time. I was tough meat. I wasn't, I wasn't 15 or 16.
right,
I was 21.
yeah,
And I saw these papers, and they were copyright papers
yeah,
for the songs, which did not have my name on it. It was only his.
yeah,
And when I confronted him about it, he didn't want to talk about it. And we just got into a pretty much a yelling match. And finally, I just told him, fuck you, I'm done. Well, of course,
right,
my future wife, she was my girlfriend at the time, I had to get her and the cops to come over and get my stuff because he wouldn't allow me into the garage. So it did not end well.
that's that's incredibly strange, man, because I've been sitting since I first emailed you thinking you're he never had anything bad to say about you.
No?
And in fact, he had good things to say about you. And the sound, he wanted to use that sound, and he gave you specifically credit for that sound, the guitar sound and everything, and the effect style and everything. And
Well, the thing was,
now,
after I left,
he had
I
a
didn't want to have anything to do with Thre3. I didn't watch their public access shows or anything like that.
show almost ruined my life. No,
Yeah, I
oh
just cut
my,
it off completely until about 2007. I knew that he had a design business, so I said, hey, let's check it out and see, if how he's doing. And there was no website. I'm like, what happened? And then all of a sudden I see this mugshot, and I'm like, oh shit, what
yeah,
happened?
no, and the fact of that also is for years he played everybody. Like he had the whole town believing that he's this master designer, and he was doing these big, and I do mean big, lavish theme parties and stuff,
Yeah.
decorating that, because I was working for him,
hmm
helping out with that stuff.
Yeah.
building the decorations and crap. And I went to some of those parties, and I'm talking mega bucks. But, he'd do one or two a year, and he could have made the same money at McDonald's. And he was struggling, man. He was pawning gear and
Wow.
stuff. And I know he went up and down on some drug use here and there. And yeah, he really put on a good show as far as the money making was concerned. But then you think about it, and it's like, well, of course he did. He was already a master of putting on a disguise for everything,
No,
and everybody.
he never touched any guys in the band, did he?
Not that I know of. What I do know, I'm not even comfortable saying this, but one of the, was it 5 accusers and victims, is someone that I know personally and consider a good friend. And that was part of what convinced me, well, and as a matter of fact, I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I think you know him too, or knew him back early. And that was the throw for me on everything. And there was some other stuff that I haven't been able to find online.
Well, I read the court transcripts for his appeal, and I was they didn't give their real names, just their initials. And I
Right.
read the stuff that was going on, and I mean, like I said, I mean, maybe I knew one of the kids, like you were saying. It doesn't matter, but I know that when I was there, he never had any girls come over. The only girl that came over was his girlfriend.
Is that a different?
Yes,
Yeah. Yeah. There was a
yes, she was
couple.
the only one that came over, and no other girls. Just he had teenage boys with him all. He was always surrounding himself with teenage boys.
Well, man. And see, that's where it starts to get crazy. First, let me say a couple other things. The
Yeah.
copyright shit, that didn't end with you. Maybe 3 years ago, I went digging and found stuff he copied, had put the copyright on in just his name also, that I wrote before I even played in that fucking band.
Uh-huh.
Stuff like that. And I don't care. I've reused some of it, put it online, sold it, whatever. So my point is, he didn't change. It was the same snake show the whole time,
Right.
But so what happened, man? There was this one kid who apparently was not on the list of victims, who had lived on and off at his house. God, man, 3 to 5 years at least, I guess. He was real small when he started, and he got bigger. And I'll tell you this shit because I told the same stuff to the cops, man. I did an interview at the police station in Corpus and everything, because they were looking for everybody that knew him at all. And
No one ever called me, so.
yeah. Well, they didn't call me. They contacted somebody else I was working with,
Uh-huh.
and he was like, "Well, I'm not interested, but I got somebody right here." And I was like, "Well, fuck it. I don't care."
Oh.
So this is one of the things I told the cops. I said, I don't hate Paul. I mean, I was long out of the band at that point, nearly a decade already gone.
Right.
I got no problem with Paul. He's a fucking weirdo. But if he's guilty, I want you to hang him. So I don't have any damning evidence or anything like that. But what I do have is all these weird situations that maybe you already know, maybe you don't. And I gave him all these stories, things I'd seen in his strange behavior and his obsessions. First it was garlic, and then it was lime juice, and then it was tuna fish, and then it was green tea, and washing his hair with beer. Seriously, these weird phases.
Wow.
I'm kidding. Those are all honest, man. Dude, he would go into a restaurant with a ball of tinfoil with like a small fist of chopped garlic in it, so he could have fresh garlic everywhere he went for the natural healing properties.
Well, I know he used to get spoonfuls of this honey type substance.
Yes, and put it in the drinks before singing and all that
Yeah,
kind of stuff
yeah.
too. Yeah.
And taking all these vitamins and everything.
Yeah, that never stopped, man. That never stopped. But, dude, it was so bad that you'd knock on the door and still be outside the door, outside the screen door, and smell the garlic. He was eating that much garlic. it was just all that crazy shit, man. But I told him about that kid that had been living there. And this is what I haven't seen online, so you might know about it, you might not. He had been attacked. He got jumped. He was in his vehicle. And
which one was it? The Isuzu Rodeo?
no, it was long after that. I think it was a small Ford pickup. And he was, if you remember Corpus, that area right there on the corner of was it Texan and Alameda? There's a water.
Yep, I know where that's at.
And the little gas station in front of that, and then right across the road was just a crappy shopping center, which is much nicer now. And I think he was parked there on the side of that shopping center.
Uh-huh.
Apparently, multiple people attacked him, broke the windows, stabbed him in the arm with a fucking tire iron.
Ooh.
Whipped his ass, man. And that was not the only time he had his ass whipped, but that was one. Okay. Then I find out from somebody who has access to certain documents in the court.
Right.
And was very close to the case, that the day before that assault was one of the alleged rape days.
Oh, okay.
He didn't, I don't believe he randomly got jumped by a bunch of
It may have been the family trying to take out their own justice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he had this habit of, he would go after the poor Mexican kids whose families weren't doing good or whatever. And he'd pull them out of the church and get close to them and shit. And I mean, you've read, he did the same trick on everybody. And
yeah, the Sobe coconut drink.
Yeah, and he always had those. Which tells me it probably happened to more people.
Oh, I'm sure.
Went on for years and years and years, the exact same thing probably went on. Yeah, it was crazy, man. And when I got done talking to the police, and the dude turned off the recorder, it was weird. It had like a button and a microphone was up on the ceiling. It was all like a studio, And he took me out of the room and he said, "Well, I'll tell you right now, you got almost an identical story that we've already gotten from about 25 people." He says, "So everybody that knows him actually knows him. There's no way you all got together and made up all this same crazy shit." And I was like, like I said, I'm not trying to lock him up. That's your job. If he's guilty, I said, if he is, y'all need to prove it, And
I'm amazed they gave him only 55 years.
Yeah, and the thing I'm trying to understand is I keep getting conflicting information on whether that's serving a straight 55 or is it going to be concurrent? He's going to get out in a few years or something. I can't even be sure at this point.
Me personally, if he's a sex offender, they don't let them out too easily.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll usually just leave him in there and let him rot.
And I had told that detective also, what did I say? And I truly believed, I was wrong, but I truly believed, and I told him, I said, I think if it comes to big court time and the potential for prison and everything, he's going to run or he's going to kill himself because he's weak. Right. And that's what I expect him to do. And anyways, Paul got a copy of that interview, right?
Oh.
Oh, man. So I'm at work one day, and you probably knew my boss. Did you know he had worked at music for a long time when he was real young, and eventually he opened his own place. But he had played drums with us in Thre3 also.
Well,
big heavy dude.
Yeah, I really didn't go to music that much. I usually went to patients.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway,
the name sounds familiar.
Yeah, well, they were friends even before I was really friends with either one of them.
Uh-huh.
And Ben had joined us later on. He played drums for a while. And I ended up working for Ben, which is funny because he had worked for me years before that. But Paul would always call him and write him and stuff from the jail and just begging for help. "Hey, man, I need some money." Or, "Hey, man, I need you for a character witness." Right. And over again was like, yeah, sure, you know, I can do all this, I can do all, and I don't think he's guilty, man. I think all this, I was like, really? You think all these dudes got the same story at different times, really? And the closer it got to the trial, finally it was like, I can't do it, man.
You know,
I think he's guilty. The child porn is what sold me. There's no way he had
right.
all that accidentally, you know.
I
And
mean, if one
he
kid comes out, hey, give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he didn't do it, but when you got 5 kids, 6 kids, 7 kids
yeah,
coming out, just really, it's a pattern. And
yeah. I'm always leery of that stuff because yeah, when I first heard, I got a call from the dude that had lived with him. He's like, hey man, did you hear about Paul? And he was living in Houston. He heard about it before I did, but I was like, no. And he told me, and I was like, well, I'll wait and see, you know. And I got more of the story, and I was like, oh my God, he's so guilty, man.
what gets me is why in the hell was he going for the kids' buttholes when he could have had? My goodness, that girl was good
Well,
looking.
that's another interesting thing is that he had lots of opportunities for girlfriends and stuff. I
Yeah.
met several girls that were trying to hook up with him, and he always had a reason not to. And I think there was one other one that had been kind of important later on. Well, anyways, half his fucking lyrics got something to do with his relationship with these girls, right?
Right.
And then later, I end up living next door to what's his fucking last name? Mick something from. I don't know if you remember them.
I remember. Yep.
Okay, he was a loony. That dude was a weirdo, but whatever. Um, he jumps up on the fence one day, like home improvement, right? Hey, what's going on? And I was like, nothing, man. He's like, hey, dude, I just got some information from my friend that he said he knows Rebecca Paul's old girlfriend, and
Hmm.
that she told him that she only let Paul fuck her in the ass so she wouldn't lose her virginity or something like that. Now I don't know if any of that was true. I've known girls who have done that with close friends of mine and stuff, and I guess it's a real thing. But I told that to the cop too. I was like, this is a crazy story. I don't know. But here's
Yeah.
the rumor that this happened, and he got addicted to buttholes, and the easiest ones to get were little boys who were sleeping. And it's just like there's a lot of people who know a lot of stuff, and
Well, he must have
they're
been
gonna
on
have to click
prescription
through.
drugs too, because the court transcript said that he gave that one kid some prescription pills to knock him out.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I don't know if it was his prescription or not,
oh,
but yeah. And then one of his other ass whippings that I'm sure about, he actually showed up and showed us pictures of him. He got fucked up. I mean, somebody really whipped him, man. And I
hmm.
think it was over. It was at 6 point. I always confuse 6 points and 5 points. I think 6 points off Alameda.
Okay, I know where that's at. Yep,
There's a bus station there, and
yep,
his
that's right.
story
We're
was,
closest.
yeah, yeah,
Yep.
exactly. And his story was that he was giving somebody a ride or dropping them off or whatever. And I think there was either some drugs or prostitution or just gay advances going on or something.
Right.
And the dude didn't take it, and he whipped Paul's ass, man. I mean, his face, he looked like he got attacked by a grizzly bear and 500 bumblebees. But he was definitely going off the deep end, man, there for a while. But yeah, he went through some crazy shit, dude. Like when I left the band, he went out of his way to find a bass player that everybody thought was me. I'm talking same clothes, same haircut, very, very similar 5 string bass, uh, wood finished just bare wood, just like
Right.
mine, and same shoes, same everything,
Hmm.
everything, same play style, same influences. And I don't know, was he trying to trick people, or did he just want so badly to replicate what I had done, or
Or maybe just have the facade that the band is doing okay and everybody's liking what they're doing.
yeah,
That nobody's leaving.
yeah.
So
And because I ran into somebody like a year later. Well, hey man, I just saw you on TV last week. I'm like, nope, no, you didn't. That ain't me, man. I've been gone for a while. That's a new guy. It's like, no way. He looks just like you. He didn't look just like me, but it was enough, especially on a crappy home videotape,
right.
to pull it off. he just went through a lot of weird shit like that.
And the thing is, I haven't
You
even
know,
talked to him. I haven't talked to him since this happened. It's just been decades. You know what I mean?
yeah. I never had anything against, man. I don't know why unless Paul was lying, then said some shitty stuff about me. I don't know. Did he think I wasn't going to be able to pull off his stuff and he was insulted or something? You know. And
Well, I
I
mean,
liked him.
as far as Mo was
Met him
concerned, Mo's
before.
a good bass player.
He
But
was.
when he left Thre3, I know he went to another band. He was playing bass for them. We went and saw them a couple of times. He didn't have any type of hatred or anything towards anybody, as far as
Yeah.
I knew.
No, I never. Like I said, I only had met him a few times, and it was
Right.
way before that happened. And in fact, we laughed together about some stuff a few times and talked. The band I was in, we went and recorded a real fast, crappy demo of the same song 3 times, just trying to get a take good enough for Lakes on the radio station there. Some
Uh,
stupid thing we're gonna go do. And Paul was actually playing the drums because our dude fucking flaked out like usual. And that was like the last real encounter I had with him. And that was like 95 or 96. And, it was within the next several months to a year that he left and I came in.
did he seem like he had a problem with you?
No, no, when we were before, before that time, before he left the band, I got along with him. Very little bit that I was around him, it was always real
Uh,
cool.
uh,
And I guess he had talked to Paul on the phone or come over there or something. And remember he had some special names for me and stuff like that. And I was like, what the? All I could think
well,
was
maybe that doesn't
he
sound
was
like Mo. I think Paul
insulted
was
by my
lying to you.
age. That's possible, man. It's totally possible. Because I remember another time, maybe a year or two in, I think, unless Paul pulled an old letter out of the closet or something, we'd sent him a letter saying how he wished things had gone differently or something like that.
Hmm.
But everybody in that band wished things had gone differently. Like
It's,
the singing, for example, the singing, man, we would tell him, dude, that's not working. That's not good.
yeah.
And we would write songs and we were getting heavier and heavier because he ended up me and a bunch of metalheads in the band basically. And,
Hmm.
of course I played jazz and all kinds of stuff too, but my main thing was metal, and of course that had an influence. And he would sing in practice kind of normal, kind of good for the type of music that we were doing. And
Right.
me and the other dudes would be talking like, hey man, this might be okay. And then we'd go to record and we all lay down our tracks and we're gone. He's in there for 2 days for some reason by himself while the rest of us did all our shit in one day.
So who's on that picture that you guys had on that article? Um,
Um,
are you
that's
the one?
me.
You're not the one that's got the braid, are you?
No, I have a, if it's the picture I'm thinking of, I have like a goofy smile and a Star Wars t-shirt on.
Okay. There was another guy, a little skinny white guy with a little braid or something on the side.
Little skinny white dude, that's, his name is, he was from,
Okay.
actually, he's back there now. He was cool as fuck. We got along
Was he?
really, really well. And we both were striving for the same thing and feeling miserable there. There were
Yeah.
songs that he pretended he couldn't learn.
Oh.
Pretended he could not learn them because he hated them so much and refused to play them.
No, I have to say that when Paul got him in the band, sent me a tape of doing some of my songs.
Uh-huh.
Wow, that guy was amazing.
He was a hellion on the guitar, man,
Yes,
but
he was.
he uh he was weird, man.
Yeah, he was a
Did
little
you know?
weird.
Yeah, I
He
mean,
kind of
kind of.
had he looked like the lead singer from the Cutting Crew, but
As
he had
far as I
that
know,
really
he's
weird,
still stuck a little bit in the '80s now,
yeah, that
even.
little dirty blonde hair kind of
Yeah,
gelled up, but he was just wicked on that guitar.
but the problem with him was it was all business. Like there was no there was no fun and love in it. He put on a show,
Mm-hmm.
but man, practice time or whatever, he showed up 30 seconds till start time, and he was out the door 30 seconds after we finished, every time. And he didn't last long, but I don't know what he was looking for. I think he was looking for the money in it that never came.
Right.
The only money I ever got out of it was that first 250 for doing the recording.
Tell you, I never saw any money.
Oh, no, it was always breaking even or over budget.
I never got a
There was
dime.
always
I paid for my own system, my own guitar. I paid for everything. And when we did those, we never did any concerts that were paid. We always did free stuff. And as far as him, putting out Christian flyers, he did that on his own. I had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
So
no, same thing with us, man. And I remember when that article came out, all he ever told us when that dude first contacted him and everything was a magazine in the UK. And it was not until we saw an actual print copy that we were all like, oh, it's a fucking Christian organization, man. And, he's there speaking for all of us. We're not a Christian band. We're Christians in a band. I was like,
oh, God.
I'm really trying to not be anything. I'm just, and that actually, being in that band, it's funny, you were saying you met your wife. I kind of lost my first wife, had a lot to do with that band. Because her family was still super deep in the religion, and they were very against Paul and his flamboyant ways and
those clothes that he would wear.
Yeah, and he would put me on the television show and shit, and I would have to eat shit from my in-laws and everybody in the church and all that stuff. Like, why are you doing this? It's very there's lots of idolatry and blasphemy and all that stuff. And I was like, man, I got hired to play a part. And if there's a video of me popping up on TV, I'm sorry. I don't film it. I don't edit it. It's which was half bullshit. I knew it was going to be on TV and all that stuff. But, man, it was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. And I did it for 2.5 or 3 years. And one of the things that started breaking it down, besides my marriage was coming apart, which was not just from the band, don't get me wrong.
Right.
I remember one night, it was time to be at practice, and he lived, 4 minutes down the road from me. I lived on Santa Fe in some apartments, and I couldn't get there, man. I had a little baby, just a few months old. She's sick. My wife was a horrible bitch, and she was extra bitchy that night because of the baby. And my phone was turned off because I didn't make enough money, 18, 19 years old for all of us and everything. And
understandable.
And I could not get there. And I'm trying to get out the door and go, and I'm racking my brain, and I'm telling her, should I just stay home? Should I go? Should I just stay? You need to stay home. And I'm like, oh, fuck, man. And finally, one of the other dudes came over to my house, and he's like, man, what's going on? Paul's freaking out. I was like 5 minutes late, I mean, and then next time I talked to him, because I didn't go when they told me everybody was freaking out and shit. I just went, fucking, I ain't going. He was being a real dick, and I was like, it's real nice of you, man, that your first thought is I'm screwing up your jam time instead of maybe I fucking got hit head on my way over here or something, And
it's called priorities.
Yeah, and it wasn't long after that. It was a few weeks, I think, or a few months more that I stretched it out and tried to help the new guys coming in and out because we were changing guitarists every 3 months, And
now I know that article said that he was that Paul. I don't know why they called him PR. Just fucking call him Paul. But anyway, why he said that he was also producing and recording other bands.
Yeah, that was weird. That's embellishing the situation just a tad. There were a couple of bands. There was a young kid from Portland that I was friends with, and he was in a band, and they were Christian kids, but it wasn't like Christian music. They were trying to still ride that Pearl Jam wave, but they were a few years too late, you know.
Yeah.
And they were young, like 15 or whatever. And he was trying to do some crap for them. And they changed the band name like every 6 months. That wasn't helping anything. And the most that happened with them was like filmed a video in the garage and put it on the show.
Uh-huh.
And then another band, they were some metal kids. They were all like you would not expect them. They were all small, little, short Mexican kids with this long, fucking badass metal hair. And dude, they could play. They could fucking play, every one of them.
Uh-huh.
And but they had their own thing going. They didn't need Paul for nothing. But we were like acquaintances. But the drummer, he would spend a lot of time over there and fill in for stuff. And
Right. That's the way Paul liked them, though.
yeah. And God, now I got to look at all those initials again. Holy shit! But that was it, man. There was nothing going on. I think he might have tried more later, but not at that time. At that time, I was still strong, right in the middle of my time in the band when that article was going on.
Right.
And there actually was, for about a year, there was a good wave of interest from weird places. Not fucking Corpus. Man, they wanted our heads in Corpus. But Ohio, for some reason, Ohio was real big into it.
Yeah.
A couple of places in Canada, the UK, and somewhere else over here in Europe. Fuck.
You know
was German.
what the beginning of the end was as far as hatred for Thre3 was when it seemed like no matter where I went, if I went to Flower Bluff or if I went to Annaville, it didn't matter. There was always a Thre3 sticker
Mm-hmm.
on a stop sign or a yield sign or somewhere. It's like,
Yeah.
why, man? You know?
Yeah. You know what? Me and a couple of my friends did some of those ourselves before I was in the band. And usually it was some kind of vendetta type thing. It wasn't advertising, the ones we did. Like,
Yeah.
you know, Paul had a huge feud with Gabriel from C101.
Oh, really?
And yeah, big time. Like, would talk shit about him on air, man. It was crazy. So we went to one show, me and my buddies. I think the place, was it Ballyhoo's? Is that what it was called? Alameda and Airline or something. I don't remember if that was Ballyhoo's. But it was inside. The van was out there, and we went and put those fucking stickers on the van, and that started some more shit and stuff like that. But that's true. Those damn things were everywhere, man.
Yeah.
And his attitude, like he was such a egomaniacal bastard to everyone, you know.
Yep.
I mean, he was a mediocre drummer. The best thing about his drumming was that he could do double bass really well.
Yeah.
But he had nothing special. I mean, I was able to do double bass really well too, but I wasn't a drummer. I fucking knew that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
His singing was nothing. His lyrics were you know, high school shit at best, and he had just enough money to back it and keep stuff going, and that's really all that kept it alive, man. And you know, he would print thousands of fucking CDs and stuff. And when all this shit went down, he took all those videos from the TV show, all the CDs and cassettes that had not been sold or whatever, and threw them out on the front for the trash, man.
Wow.
And he had so many of those fucking Bleeding Youth CDs, which was before my time, thank you very much, and that he was using them for decorations at these parties. Like he'd take an 8x4 sheet of plywood and just cover it with CDs, so you just see the shiny side, you know, when the lights are hitting, it's bouncing everywhere. And, dude, I don't know how much money he blew on that shit, but I guess he thought those first two CDs were going to make it, and they didn't. So then the whole time I'm in the band, which was probably the peak of the music writing as far as that's concerned, of, you know, the whole band actually putting something into it and taking our time and stuff. And we didn't do any CDs. We had fucking cassettes, because he'd already blown all his money, you know.
Right.
As soon as I leave the band, he makes another CD with all my playing on it, with the new guy's face on it, you know, but at least it had my name and the special thanks.
Uh-huh. Well, I remember I mean, when you walked into his house, the one over there by it's near Alameda. I mean,
Yeah,
purple
Rossiter.
walls, pink walls. I'm like, that just screams
Yeah,
gayness.
yeah, yeah,
You know,
man.
he just said it was his artistic talent. I'm like, oh, whatever, man, whatever.
Yeah, there are a lot of weird things. Like I said, there were always kids around, man. And luckily, I had daughters, and
Yeah.
I guess that wasn't his thing. But he, I ran into him actually after that interview. Oh shit, I forgot. He had written a letter to Ben at work. It's just some big spiel, and then at the bottom of it, P.S. Tell me he's an asshole. And then he had gotten out of jail somehow, right? And so I'm at HEB with my kid. She was like 11 or 12 years old. She's about to turn 20. So yeah, that's about right. And I go to the medication aisle to get some hydrogen peroxide or something. And Paul comes around the corner. And he actually tried to puff up to me, and put his chest out and come. Like, first of all, I've always been taller than you. Okay, you're not going to get any taller by putting your chest out. Just knock it
Right.
off. What's up? Hey, man, that really hurt. That's all he said. What's up? That really hurt. I said, I think everybody got hurt. And he just stood there staring at me, like breathing in my face. And I said, dude, don't do anything stupid in front of my kid. And he split. He took off. He didn't get what he needed, I guess, from the medication aisle. He
He
just
he
walked
was
up.
expecting you to react.
I guess he didn't want that. Right now, I can barely get out of my chair, but I would have absolutely murdered him in HEB that day.
Right.
And I called the cops. I called the detective that I talked to, and I told him, look, man, we live right down the street from each other. Just ran into him at the store. He's pissed off because he's read that interview I did with you guys. If he starts anything with me in public, I'm going to end it
Right.
with with a choke, or I got to shoot him. I don't care. So I'm telling you now, if something happens, that he's already gotten in my face.
Right.
And they said, well, if anything happens, just call us and try to wait for help. I'm like, I'm not going to wait for help if I'm getting sucker punched or something. And I saw him again, man, outside that same damn HEB at the gas pumps. And by this point, he had cut all his hair off. And he was in some weird little gray car that he must have borrowed from somebody. And he looked at me for about 2 seconds and then put his head down and drove away. And I never saw him again.
Well, I'll tell you that
That was,
mugshot that he's got. It looks like he's wearing a wig.
oh man, his hair. No, that's his hair. It's
Oh.
just that it was that bad. It was that bad. But it looked dark. It looked a
Yeah.
lot darker than I was ever used to. And man, when he first got arrested, my buddy that had lived with him, they were friends. The dude that got me stuck in the band.
Right.
The first thing he did was go and post that mugshot in the article on Paul's MySpace page, for everyone to see. Just like instantly turned on him, no hesitation whatsoever. It's like, oh, it's brutal.
Well, he deserved it.
He did, man.
Yeah.
He did.
I got no sympathy for the guy. I don't. I mean,
Where's he at? Is he in Huntsville?
the last
Uh,
I read, the thing is, I've been looking online to see
it's hard. Yeah.
there all the like the stuff from TV.
Yeah.
It's all gone.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, it's all been archived or it's just been deleted. Or it's
Yeah.
like, where did it all go? The only thing that I could find was that article from you guys. That
Yeah.
that was it. And there was a video on YouTube that shows his court proceedings and what he got
Right.
charged with, and he got guilt. He was found guilty and everything like that. But other than that, there's really nothing on him at all.
No, I was actually going to write that fucking Clemens and tell him, by the way, in case you guys haven't heard, here's Paul now, and send them links to everything and proof of who I was, but
Right.
I never got around to it. Probably won't, but yeah, it's all kind of strangely swept away. Like the news information was never really clear anyways. I thought he was well known enough in Corpus that there was going to be a lot bigger blow up from that,
Yeah.
because when your face is on TV for 6 hours a week, even on public access, Because I mean, I heard about it from people that I hadn't talked to in years. Hey, did you hear about Paul? Oh, fucking course I heard about Paul, you know. I mean, I got sick of it, you know.
Yeah.
Did you know? It's like, yeah, I knew. And did you know this and this and this? And I was like, actually, I knew a lot. I know a lot more than they're telling you on TV. I knew this and that. There's stuff I'm not supposed to say because I've already talked to the police and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
Oh, really? I'm like, yeah. You know, I mean.
And I know when I saw the video on YouTube with his when he was in court, and they had those people coming out saying what a nice, truthful person he was. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Do you realize what this guy is being charged with? I mean, I can understand if he, stole money from the church or assaulted somebody, just beat them up or whatever. But he was fucking young boys.
Yeah.
How can you defend that? I mean, I can understand if it turns out that he was not guilty, but you always have to presume, especially with that kind of crime, you have to presume that he's guilty. If it turns out that he's not, then you can do your apologizing later on and say, "Hey, man, I'm sorry."
Right.
But don't go up there, make a fool of yourself, and say, "Oh, he's a truthful guy. He would never do anything like that." And then all of a sudden, he's found guilty on all counts, and then they just disappear. It's like all his friends just go away. It's like, you never hear from him again.
Well, it's like I told Ben when he kept saying, "I think I'm gonna testify for him, man. I've known him a long time." I was like, "Dude, I've known my brother a long time. He's a piece of shit. Okay, what's your point?"
Yeah.
And I told man, because I said, if you do that, you're going to lose business. And I also work here, and we have a hard enough time making the bills some months, you know. And that's what it came down to at the end.
Whatever happened to that guy that did the skateboarding business? Something skate.
MD, yeah. Oh man,
Mark. Yes, that he had a really high pitched voice whenever he talked.
Yep. I went back to Corpus 3 years ago, and they were still there, I believe. I don't know if he's still running the place or not, but I think they're still right there, the same damn place in Hamlin Shopping Center. You know.
I haven't been to Corpus in 20 years.
There ain't no reason to go, man. I mean, my family's there, which sucks. You know, I've got 2 kids there, and my mom and my stepdad, my brother are all there. My sister's in Austin. But like, if I could go see Corpus and there were no other humans there, it'd be cool. But that's a fucked up little population, man. That's a lot of conflicting cultures crammed into a small area, and everybody thinks they're in control of everything, and it's just the politics are head to head, you know, and it's a weird fucking town, and it's
I know, you take one wrong turn. Trust me.
Yeah, you take one wrong turn and you're in the ghetto, and you take another wrong turn, you're in the fucking ocean. So I don't like it, man. I lived there. That was actually I've lived there several times, but the last run, was like 18 or 20 years or something. And I don't know, man. We don't want to stay here. We want to go back to the States,
Well, last time I heard, he was in the Cofield unit over there in near Huntsville.
Yeah, that's right.
And if he's still there, I don't know. But I'd like to know where he's at, because I want to send him some fishnet stockings and some high heels.
Right. He's up there. I should get somebody to get in touch.
The two worst places to go to prison is Texas and California.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a sex offender.
Yeah. I've always said I'm not going. Innocent or guilty, I'm not going. I will be dead before you get me in the gate.
Yeah.
I'm not going, even if I'm completely innocent. If I get sentenced, you're going to be there for years trying to get out. Forget it. It's not happening. I ain't going. Love you guys. I'm going to miss you. Boom. Forget that. Fuck that. I ain't going to prison.
Well, I don't know if Texas has protective custody or not, but if they do, I'm pretty sure that's where he's at. Oh,
you know what? The last thing I heard, it had to be Ben or somebody, and I would say it's been a couple of years that he would have written to someone that he was actually playing in a band in the prison, playing drums in the prison band. So all I could think was he might be in some kind of segregation for all the offenders and shit,
Yeah.
or he keeps people entertained so they haven't killed him yet. You know, who knows? But I mean, his look and his crime in Huntsville,
Yeah.
that ain't a friendly place for a geeky white child molester, you know?
I wonder, but I know I remember his parents, his
Mm-hmm.
mom. I was kind of close with his mother. We always talked all the time when I went over there, and because I know when I went to their house, they had a really big house. That was huge, and when I walked in there, it was like I was in a plant where you smoke meat. I mean, it was just. I mean, they were smoking cigarettes. I was like, oh.
Huh.
But then, back then I was smoking cigarettes, so it didn't matter to me. But
Right.
they were nice people. So
That's that's so weird actually to think about how much time I spent with him, because we would practice, 3 days a week, 2 to 3 hours every time, and all the other shit I did with him, just cruising around and uh, other work that I did for him and all kinds of stuff, and to never hear or see more about his family was kind of weird. I
yeah,
wonder if something happened in between your time and mine
I
that
don't know.
kind of
Maybe they
cut
were
him
just
off,
ashamed and humiliated, decided to move back to.
right? It's weird.
But when I saw in that article that he was in another state, uh, what is it, Iowa or something like that, and that kind of makes you wonder: was he diddling kids there too?
Right.
I mean, did he leave Buffalo because he was diddling kids there? Who knows? I mean, don't tell me how many victims there are out there.
Right. How much farther can you go, and stay in your country, to go from New York down to South Texas,
Yeah,
It's kind of I don't know, man, but, you know, I mean, just looking at everything I saw and the strange clues and all the dudes that were around, it had to be going on for a lot longer. And I'm sure there's at least 5, 10, 15 more people
oh
out
yeah,
there who,
yeah.
a
And
lot of them are probably dead or
well,
out
in
of
that
state
court
and everything.
transcript, there was one that they couldn't do anything about because the statute of limitations was already up.
That's the one I know. Yep.
So no telling how
Yeah,
many more before that.
yeah, yeah. That was my buddy, actually, the one that was too late. And like I said, that's when it really hit me when he told me. Um, I was
Told you
like, this
what?
dude ain't lying. Well, when my friend told me that
Oh, I thought you about Paul.
his situation.
Oh,
No, that's when I knew, if this dude's saying it, because this is a straight up, straight up dude.
yeah,
I mean, he's my age, he's coming up on 40 soon, super close to his parents, still fairly religious, but not super religious.
yeah,
Steady jobs and stuff. And his explanation to me was, well, it was a weird explanation. I mean, just kind of blocking things out and blacking things out and letting it go, just forgetting and forgiving. And because he ended up living with Paul at one point, and I forgot about that. Years after I quit the band, I was going back over there jamming with him and Paul,
yeah.
just doing cover tunes, and just
You know,
shit for
I
fun.
when I first started the band, I suggested to Paul that we should do, if we're going to be doing original music, we need to mix some
Yeah,
cover tunes in there too. You can't just play all original music.
yeah.
Um,
Oh, especially in Corpus, man.
yeah, I mean,
Corpus,
even
not
some
a
of the
loyal
bigger
crowd.
bands, like Pearl Jam, they weren't just playing their own. When they were out there in the clubs, they were playing other people's music too. But you just got to incorporate it in there, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, he wouldn't do it.
Well,
He refused to do it.
we did it. We definitely did cover tunes.
What was it? You
Uh,
two?
Oh, well, a fucking course, right? But you two, what do we do? We did holy shit, two hearts beat as one or some crap like that. And I don't remember where we played that, but we played that live at least once or twice. We did Inagata de Vida. That was actually my idea, but it was a short version. I couldn't get them to go for a full 18 minutes, you know. And we played fucking Purple Rain at Z. Um, if you remember Zero
Yep, I
Carl.
remember.
Okay, yeah, we played fucking Purple Rain there. The whole fact that we played Zero at all was a shock to a lot of people. And at that point, though, it was me and had his long hair and the guitarist. He was a metal looking dude with his long hair and his Ibanez and what was it, a Satriani guitar, I think. And we the three of us looked like we could play there anytime. But the crowd, man, when we stepped up on the stage, it was just instant silent hostility. And of course, what the crowd didn't know was by that point, there'd been different people writing much louder music for the last couple of years. And by the end of it, it was going really well. And we got a lot of good feedback from it and everything. And but it was just one of those things, man, that Paul could have blended into so many different things if he had tried, but he was dead set on being the weirdo and trying to be unique, and like that was going to get him somewhere, you know.
He had his mind on other things.
Yeah, yeah. Should have been playing Chuck E. Cheese, I guess. Because he wasn't. I don't think he was getting the dates he was looking for.
Peter Piper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, it was
Well,
strange times, man.
yeah.
Everything's left such a bad taste in my mouth, man. To be treated so, hostile by your whole city. Everybody hated us, man.
Yeah. I mean, did you ever hear about that? What's that guy's name? Salinas' brother, Ada.
Yeah, I've met him several times.
Yeah, I met him too. Actually, I met Selena in person.
Uh-huh.
She seemed like a nice girl. But Paul had told me thinking about putting Thre3 on their label, and I'm like, oh, whatever, man, whatever. It's, I don't know.
I don't know how much truth there might be to that because I went with Paul a couple of times to one of their houses, and he did talk to a few of them fairly regularly for quite a while. But I think after she died, they just started making more money, and they didn't need anything from the local community going on anymore.
Yeah.
My wife's family, actually, at that time, the one I was talking about, they were friends with family also. And yeah, so I'd met just a few of them, but I don't know. There might have been some tiny truth to that because I know they did try at least to promote some different bands. They're like some kind of hip hop stuff and some kind of Tejano, and maybe they were just trying to get a little bit of everything.
Well,
That might have actually been true. I don't know.
like I said, at that point, I just didn't believe a word he was saying.
Well, he blew every shot.
Yeah.
I mean, we were in contact with Arista Records for a while, and fucking Paul, dude, he would get pushy with stuff like, hey, I need to reply on this, and no, I don't like the sound of that, and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, dude, you're nobody from Corpus, and this is your one shot. At least if you don't fuck this up, you could put out one album and make some money that you could invest into something.
Yeah, you can't dictate terms with these guys, these music companies. They do the dictating for you.
Right.
If you want them to support you and dish money out, you need to shut the fuck up and do what they say.
Right, and think how much worse it is now. At least that was in the mid '90s, where you still had a shot to make some money because everything wasn't being downloaded.
Right.
And he tried to act like such a bigwig, man, with these ridiculous press kits.
Yeah.
I'm talking shiny, like chrome pink bubble wrap packages. I'm not even kidding, man.
Wow.
Like a Yeah, they were like glittery, shiny pink, and
Oh
he had
my
a
God.
huge 3 sticker on it. And inside, he would put every CD, every cassette, stickers, photos, letters, and just he was so out there, man. Like
Sometimes you can
he
overdo it.
sabotaged everything. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's sometimes simpler is better.
right.
But obviously, to him, he had like I guess he thought he was gonna. He wanted to stick out. You know,
Yeah.
if you stick out, you might get noticed. Well, sometimes, and
Sometimes he's sticking out the wrong way there,
yeah,
guy.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then of course with this, I mean, I mean, if he does get paroled, which, I mean, what? When did he go in? 2008. So it's
8
only
was when everything started. Yeah.
yeah. So 2010, I think, when he actually went to prison. So he's only been in prison for like 7 years, and if he's got a 55-year sentence, he has to serve at least a third of his time, at
Yeah.
least. So, and like I said, with those type of offenders, I mean, if that's society's garbage, nobody's gonna. Even if he gets out, let's say he gets out, for instance, as an example, what's he gonna do? Who's gonna want to be near him?
Right.
I mean, no, I'm sure every church in Corpus has heard of him.
Oh yeah.
So if he comes
Oh,
back,
yeah.
no one's
Yeah,
gonna.
he knew a lot of people, man.
Yeah.
He really did have a lot of contacts. I mean, you can drive through Corpus now and still see his work up on people's signs and logos and stuff all over the place, you know.
Yeah.
Which a lot of that shit was clip art that he was just taking off of discs that he ordered online and whatever.
Yeah.
I know for a fact because I watched it happen. He didn't do half the work he charged for, but yeah, I don't know what he could possibly do.
And
And
you
he's going to
know,
be so old.
yeah. Well, if he serves the whole sentence, I mean, he's going to be in his 90s. I
Yeah,
mean, so, but I mean, it the best thing for him would be to just stay in
right.
and serve your time because there's nothing out here for him. Nothing. I mean, he would have to register as a sex offender, I'm sure. He,
Yep.
he wouldn't be able to work in a place that had kids. So, I mean, everywhere you go nowadays, there's kids there, except the bars,
Yeah,
of course.
and a lot of the victims were not well. Like I said, he already got attacked once, just
Yeah.
randomly the very next day. I think the kind of people you want to go back and fuck with if
Yeah. So
they feel like they didn't get justice, you know.
you take your chances on the street or you take your chances in prison. Either way, you might end up dead.
Have you looked at his house on Google Maps or anything like that?
No, I haven't.
You ought to do that. I think the most recent picture, dude, it's weird. Like I think a cop lives there or something, and there's all kinds of weird signs about staying out. Supposedly they were going to tear the house down, but they didn't. And yeah, some weird shit.
Well, see, I
There's
remember
been some weird changes with
when
that.
I first met him, he was living in a small, tiny apartment on Ocean Drive. I
Huh.
mean, it was like towards downtown, and it was just in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it was just all by itself with all these trees covering it. So you wouldn't have been able to see it from Ocean Drive. It was so
Right.
so covered. And then he moved into that house, and from what I heard, he only was paying 50,000 for that house, which
Yeah,
back
that's
in
probably
90
right.
in 92 or 93, that was pretty good. He had
Yeah.
to he had to do some work on it, but other than that, the house was in good shape.
Yeah, and as far as I remember, that thing was paid off and
Yeah.
done with years ago. So
And he did have that Ford truck, or it was some sort of a truck. It was a small little truck because this is another thing that had me convinced that he was gay. We went to he invited me to go to see U2 in Houston. Okay, when the U2 had the Zoo TV tour.
yeah, yeah.
All right, so we drove down there, and I know that he lived in Houston when he was in the graphic art school or wherever. But
Mm.
what really had me convinced was the fact that he knew Westheimer and Montrose, which is like the Haight Avenue of San Francisco. It's like the little San
Okay,
Francisco in Houston. Westheimer and Montrose is where all the f- hung out, and
okay.
he knew those streets like the back of his hand. And I'm like, what the hell are we doing in here? And then we would
Oh,
go to these secondhand shops on Westheimer, and you walk in. I mean, really nice secondhand shops, but there was a little area where they had a bunch of postcards with bunch of dicks. I'm like, what's going on here? Where are we at? And he's just, like nothing's happening. He's just walking around and looking like there's something going on here. And then
right.
when we came back, I talked to him. That's when I talked about him. Like, Mom, there's something going on with Paul. This thing with maybe a facade. And he goes and says, yeah, I'm noticing that too. He's a little flamboyant for my taste. I'm like, so
Yeah.
that's when we really started getting the vibe that he was gay.
Hmm.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I have gay friends. I have no problem with them. You know, not every gay man is a fucking
A
pedophile.
child molester.
Yeah,
Yeah,
child
I
molester. I
mean
mean,
that's
contrary to what
something I
those
had to
Christians believe,
fix with it. But
and that black Isuzu rodeo that he bought.
yeah, he had
My
that for a long time now.
He treated that thing like it was a baby. I mean, and
Oh, really?
and the way it was a manual transmission,
Yeah.
and he shifted. The way he shifted, he would, usually you have to rev it up so many RPMs before you shift into second gear. But it
Right.
seems like he was going 30 miles an hour in fifth gear.
Yeah. No, he couldn't drive at all, and he had that for a long time.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
last thing I was with him was also a standard, and he drove it the same way. And it's funny you say he treated it like a baby though, because by the time I ever got in it, it was a trash bin. I
Was it?
mean, magazines and CDs and empty cups and chip
Yeah.
wrappers and McDonald's wrappers and crap
Well,
everywhere.
that's not the way he was. I mean, when he was in his apartment before he got the house, that apartment, it was like almost like he was a hoarder. Almost.
Oh, yeah.
He had shit everywhere, but his car was immaculate. It just didn't make any sense. But
When did you get out of the band? What
oh
year was that?
man, let's see. I think it was 1994. I want to say, or
Okay.
93, because I was 21.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had to have been 93.
I think it was 95 when I got in. So,
Yeah, because he went after and the other bass player. He went through a couple more guys before he got to you.
I think there was a guy named Ron.
I don't know. I
Um,
didn't follow it after that. I just to hell with him.
but I had always thought Ron earlier. Man, I don't. Maybe Ron was another guitarist before or something. I don't know. I just I know, man. After left and I got in, it was just a revolving door, man.
Yeah.
In that we had on guitar while I was in the band. Of course, I play guitar sometimes. There was Jeff Corey, Gray, a little skinny dude. I can't remember his name, but he looked like a 50-year-old Randy Rhoads. Always wearing Kiss T-shirts and shit. Oh
Yeah.
man, what was his name? Rusty, that was his name. Um, I want to say another one or two.
Hmm.
We had a couple different drummers. The guy Junior, who's actually in the picture on that article.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, and nobody stuck around long, man. I mean,
Well, once the word got out, I mean, like I said, Corpus is a small town, and once a band gets a bad reputation where they're constantly having to hire and fires,
yeah.
guitar players and bass players, word gets around, and they don't want to deal with you.
Well, it was bad for me, man. There was no going back to the punk scene. I could tell you that much.
Oh,
They weren't having it,
yeah.
and it was pretty rough getting into that death metal band. I think the only reason I made that was because my brother was in the band and they needed a bass player. And
Right.
I went over there and just played right along. It wasn't intricate stuff. It was fast, and that was it. And,
Well,
yeah, but my name and my face were out there so much on that stupid fucking TV show that you couldn't be taken seriously. It didn't matter how talented I was.
yeah.
I could play the bass better than most guys played their guitars, and it didn't matter. It didn't matter. Nobody took that shit seriously.
Yeah. So you could say that that the Thre3 was basically child molester of Corpus.
Yeah, yeah.
Nobody wanted anything to do with you.
Nobody.
That stigma
Man,
on you, you know.
I'd kill to get some of those recordings without the vocals on them, you know.
Well,
Or
actually, I looked online to see if there was any. There is a website that has. It looks like they have the cassette tapes for sale, but when you click on it, it says that the session's ended or something. It's no longer there. So they just haven't taken down that picture yet.
well, I've got all that stuff in Corpus in a
Yeah,
box in my mom's closet somewhere. I think I've probably even got some stuff with you on it.
I
And
would love to hear those. That would
if
be
I can
awesome.
if I can verify that, I can arrange for that to happen somehow. Um, yeah,
Well, whenever you have my number here, and you know where I'm
yeah.
at. So, but
I'll see what I can do. I talk to them all the time. My kids are always going through my shit over there, so I'll have them dig it out. But I'm pretty sure I've got at least one or two cassettes that had you on them. I don't know if you remember them. I think one had like a black cover and
yeah,
there was a light colored cover and then a dark one. And
yeah, it's a 3 on it.
yeah,
Yeah,
Paul's giant fucking head in the middle of the record.
I have an article of me and Paul. We did an article for the Collar Times a long time ago. I had really long hair and
Yeah.
had this jester hat on.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
Man.
and Paul had this purple gay pimp hat on, and those
Yeah,
stupid
yeah.
coats he used to wear with the like the admiral things on the shoulders. I'm like, come on, dude,
Oh,
really?
well, that's better than what he used to do to us, man. He'd go out in those dark brown hiking boots
Uh-huh.
with like ankle socks and some short, like Brady Bunch jogging shorts, like purple, and a muscle shirt under that, and a fucking big fat like a leopard skin bomber jacket. It was so horrible.
Wow.
I mean, he's dressed like he's going to a gay gym, you know, like to work out, but he's got a leopard skin, heavy jacket in the middle of summer, you know. God,
You know,
man, it
I
was.
think if he had just come out and just said it, I think it wouldn't have been as bad as it would have been. I mean, he should have just come out and said, "Look, I'm gay. I can't help it." But you would think he would go for the adult guys. You know, if he was going to have a relationship with a man, I mean,
Right.
when I was in the band and he told me if he had told me he was gay and he was, in a relationship with a man, okay, fine, whatever, man. I don't give a shit. Just don't come at me with that. I don't care what you
Well, I
do.
mean,
I don't care who you're
people would have
fucking.
cared,
Yeah.
especially in Corvus. Some people would have cared, but it wouldn't be the end of the world. Oh man, this kid's waking up.
All right. Well, if you need to go, we can talk later.
Yeah, I better take
All right,
off.
man.
But really nice talking to you, man. It's a
Yeah,
shame it took 20 some years to meet you, but
it's all right.
uh, I'll be in touch, man.
Okay.
We
You
can
take.
find out some more bullshit. I'll see if I can jig anything else up for you. But
All right.
all right, man. Have a good one.
Thanks. I want to thank everyone for listening. I hope you enjoyed today's discussion. Now, if you would like to be on the Hammer Podcast, text your name and the topic you would like to talk about to the number on the top of the channel page, and we'll set up a time for you to come on the podcast. So, for the Hammer Podcast, I'm Jason. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other.